Hello Linux fans, Rob here and welcome to Linux Quest. What makes for a great start to the day? Installing a fresh, hot off the press distro makes for a great start to the day, and I am thrilled to share with you KRevenge, part of the KRevenge family. And you guessed it, it's with the KDE Plasma desktop. So let's jump in and take a look. Alright, so fair warning, I am probably going to be overexcited about sharing this distro with you. I'm going to go through some of the tool sets that are in place here that I think sets the OBR family apart. And we're not going to get into some really deep look at KDE or the desktop environment. I've got other videos on that, as well as the Big Daddy channel for really in-depth look at KDE at the desktop. I want to cover some of the things that are in place here with KRevenge. When I first started discussing the KRevenge distro with Jody months and months back, one of the first things I said was, Jody, you've got to put KDE on this. At the time, I was going through a real deep discovery process with the KDE desktop and Plasma and just was really into all the news and updates and everything. Well, it's been many, many months, and Jody has been working on this. And so now here it is, so I'm super stoked and excited. So fair warning, if you're looking for a video where I go in and nitpick areas that maybe aren't up to par or looking for bad things, this is not going to be your video because I'm going to be stoked to cover this with you and share this with you. All right, with that said, let's kind of get some business out of the way here. And so one of the things that's installed by default is HTOP. So at cold boot, I went into HTOP, and so right now it's showing a gig here. But trust me, it was under 500 megabytes when I went into cold boot. It was at like 497. Right now I'm using OBS Screen Recorder, and I've opened other apps and everything and kind of been jumping back and forth. I installed this early this morning. It was released last night, so I got this set up early this morning. And so some of what I'm going to show you will be kind of looking at this for the first time together. All right, let's go over to one other area. Under System, we'll go into Info Center, and you'll see here that this is KDE Plasma version 5.9.5 with Qt version 5.8 and a really recent kernel here at 4.10.13. Now this is 64-bit. There's not a 32-bit version of KRevenge or any of the OBR series. All right, so let's move on from there. Now, there's a couple of things that I think really sets a distro apart, and that's various tool sets that are in place to make it easy to set up for the user, and software centers. So, a good example on the software center is the software boutique within Ubuntu Mate. That's a prime example. Also, with tool sets in place, like you see within the OBR family, and I say family because now there's Mate Revenge, there's KRevenge, and then you have the default OB Revenge with the open box desktop. All right, let's go ahead and take a look at those, and as I step through this, I'll point out a few things here that you don't see in every KDE-focused distro. So under development, there's a few things here I'm not familiar with. You've got Cuttlefish, Servisa, just not familiar with those, and a couple of other K apps I've actually never seen before. Kcache Grind, Kapp Template, and then you see Qt tools here in place as well. So if you're a developer, this may be something, and I'm sure that Jody has these in place. These are probably things that he has used under the development of KRevenge. Before I get too far, though, I want to point out something else here. You'll notice this is the default theme. This is what you boot into for the first time. The layout using the simple menu, which I prefer. You've got three options there, or alternatives for the app launcher, and we'll take a look at that. You've got this nice custom wallpaper here from Carl Snyder, and this is in keeping with the OBR theming of the grays and the dark colors, the dark theming, and it's a nice look here. You know you're looking at a part of the OBR family when you see this. All right, so let's move over next to the tools, We'll go into settings, and one of the tools in place is the KRevenge Live USB Creator. I used that this morning when I got all of this set up. So you'd simply go in and select your USB device, browse to the distro, and click OK, and it goes in and does what it needs to do. It writes your ISO file to your USB flash drive, and it worked great, and it seemed to be fast. Speaking of fast, this just feels fast. It's smooth and fluid. And I know, and I've said this before, KDE gets a bad rap for being sluggish and bloated. That's not the case, folks, especially here with KRevenge. It's smooth, it's fast. Granted, I haven't been running this for a week, and I haven't installed a ton of software, so, it could slow down. But right now, it feels fast, it seems fast. So, how you get a user feel. So, all right, back over here to the tools. So you have the Live USB Creator, and then you have the KRevenge tools. Now you'll see this with Mate Revenge, with OB Revenge, Codex Installer. Click on Codex Installer, you get an option. Would you like to install the most commonly used multimedia codecs? Some of these may include some proprietary software. Yes or no? Click OK, and it's going to apply. The Kernel Manager gives you several options for various kernels here. Again, choose what you would like, click OK, and it'll go through the process. If you have an NVIDIA card, the tools are here in place for you. A lot of these really, for someone fairly new into Linux, this really makes it easy. It's really nice to see. MX16, there's another distro that has an extremely good set of tools in place to allow the user to get things set up for the first time when they're setting up the operating system. And for someone fairly new to Linux, it can make a world of difference. So I really applaud this type of work. Then you have the Flash installer, which I applied, bootloader configuration, and then VirtualBox drivers. Now, it doesn't end there. Another area, like I said in the beginning, another area that sets you apart as a distro is if you have your own software installer. A lot of spin-offs and distros will use the default software manager, and that's not a bad thing. I'm not saying anything negative about it, but in the case of, let's say Software Boutique, for example, it really, really is helpful. And same way here with the KRevenge software tool. So under Utilities, you're going to see the KRevenge software tool. And then from there, and you know what, I need to make sure I show the welcome screen as well. And then from there, you're going to see three tabs: Internet, Media, and Office. And what's so nice about this is you simply go in and choose what you want to install. So under Internet is a great selection of browsers. So you have Google Chrome, Chromium, which is the default browser, Firefox, Midori, Quipzilla, and then you get into some email clients here. You've got Geary, Evolution, and Thunderbird. Got Opera here. Now, I notice here that some of the icons are missing. I'm sure in future updates, those will populate back in and you'll have kind of a full list of icons there. Again, this was just released last night. Then under Media, you got GIMP and VLC. Let's see, Spotify is there, Shotwell, Audacity, and this was so awesome to see here. Simple Screen Recorder. Kdenlive was installed by default, which I loved, saved me a step. So thank you, Jody. And then OBS Studio. So nice selection there. And then you have Office. So you'll notice here is LibreOffice, because LibreOffice is not installed by default. And I think the reason there was that Jody wanted to keep the ISO size down. And when you start to add some of these K tools, and believe me, there's a ton of K tools that could have been included with this, it really starts to increase the ISO size. So I'm fine with that, having this quick, easy access to it, or perhaps you prefer to try Calligra. So, and then you have some PDF readers, things like that. So this isn't a huge library of software. However, it is a good mixture of starter, what I'll call starter or start out software. These are things that you're going to install more than likely when you first set up your distro. So you could go through, click what you want. Once it's all chosen, choose Install Selected Packages. Bam, goes through the process. It's just a really big time saver. Now, There's another area here where you can install software, and if you're an Arch user, you're going to be familiar with this, so we're going to go to System, Add, Remove Software. And I just want to point this out. One of the benefits of KRevenge is that it's got access to the Arch user repository, and that would allow you access to just about everything. I'm not going to get into an argument about who has the largest selection in their repository. Certainly Ubuntu has a big selection there, but if you include the AUR, the Arch-based distros with the AUR, it just opens you up to a world of practically everything. So enough said there. You've got two options. Once you go into the KRevenge software tool, choose what you want, and then from there you can build out using the more default Arch-based installer here, PMAC or Pacman. I always get the two confused. And toggle on for the AUR, and you're good to go. All right, so let's take a look also at, there's one additional wallpaper here, and Carl has included some of his nice artwork here with this gray, so we'll click apply there. Nice clean wallpaper. And I also want to talk about the theming. So there wasn't a lot that really had to go in place with theming, not a lot of work to make this really look like a part of the OBR family. And the reason for that is the theming that's already in place within KDE. So you've got appearance here with workspace theme. So you've got Breeze Dark in place, which we have active now. And then you have Breeze Dark here, which again is installed by default. And a couple of options for cursor theme, splash screen, things like that. And then you've got the default icons in place. So this is a pretty simple theming setup, I would say, for Jody, because it was all kind of in place. It all just worked, which leads me back to my previous statement when I first started talking to Jody about OBR and how it just seemed like KDE would be a good fit. So it just really, it feels right. So again, I'm overly excited about this one. All right, let's go through and take a look at some of what's pre-installed. And it's kind of an interesting mix here because you're going to see some of the K apps that you don't always see. So let's first start with development. So I'm sure some of these tools are in place because Jody uses them to develop. And I'm not familiar with a lot of these. You've got Servisa, Cuttlefish. Those are not particularly K tools, but then you get into KApp Template, Kcache Grind. I'm just not familiar with that. And of course, Plasma Look and Feel. That goes along with the Plasma themes. Plasmate. So some of these, again, I'm just not familiar with, but they're on the development side. So if you're a developer or someone who is starting to develop, this may be good for you that these are all set up and pre-installed. We'll go on down to graphics, and here you're going to see GwenView under more K-Color Chooser. And then under Internet, you're going to see a few things here in way of K tools. Again, Chromium is default. You've got KGet, KMail, Conqueror, Capote, so on and so forth. And then under Multimedia, you're going to see Dragon Player, Juke, which I need to spend more time with, K3B, and again, Kdenlive was already set up. I use that all the time. Having that in place, it was like a small Christmas gift. That's crazy, I know. KMix, KSCD, and then I installed OBS. Pulse Audio Volume Control was in place. I installed Simple Screen Recorder as well as VLC Media Player. And then under Office, you are not going to see LibreOffice pre-installed, but again, as you saw, one-click access for that. But what you do see is Kmail, Contact, and Korganizer, which is kind of the personal information suite, if you will. Not my favorite. It's kind of long in the tooth. I think there are some things being worked on there to replace this mixture, if you will, this Korganizer app. And then under Settings, you've got Firewall Configuration, and then those K tools, KRevenge tools, as well as the main system settings. Now, you also have in place Discover, which if you were running, say, KDE Neon, this is where you would access all of your software. Well, there's no need for a third place to access all of your software, but what you will find here under Discover is application add-ons. So you've got Kdenlive transitions, for example, here, and title templates that you could choose. So we'll go ahead and just install a couple of these news ticker. I'm going to experiment with some of these. And then the other thing that you're going to find are Plasma add-ons. So here you'll see various themes, cursors, things like that, Plasma themes. Let's see if there's anything there. And my guess is this is pulling in from KDE Look. Let's look at Glassified. So this will show you images so you can kind of get an idea for the theme. And this isn't bad. It's just not, still feels a little incomplete. And this isn't Jody's work. This is something that KDE has been working on, and it's getting better as far as the overall feel of the app, of Discover itself. It's getting better. It just is not quite refined yet. But anyway, nice to see this. You got a selection of wallpapers, Windows Manager effects, Window Manager effects, scripts, various scripts that you could add in. So this might be an area to either get in trouble with or play around with and have some fun with. So, all right, so we'll close that out. Overall, again, as you can tell, I'm stoked to be running this. I'm sure there'll be some updates probably pretty quickly. And as those come, if there's anything added or removed, I'll try to keep you informed about that. If you're looking for something new, maybe you haven't tried KDE. So this would be a nice way to try KDE. If you're looking for something that's easier setup, and I'm going to go to this. In the beginning, when I first took a look at KRevenge, it would not have been a choice for me for someone who's new into Linux because there were a lot of redundant settings. There were a lot of things in place where you could change things from multiple locations and do the same thing. Since that time, Jody has continued to refine things and, of course, introduce new versions. And in that refinement, now when you jump in here and you go through and you use these tools and you go into settings, it's all really a smooth process. There's not a lot of redundancy there. And with the tools in place, the software installer in place, and all of that, I'm changing my tune on the KRevenge being something that I would recommend for a new user. I'm changing my tune on that. I could foresee now someone new coming over to this and trying it and getting things set up really easily because of the tool sets that are in place and of how streamlined everything is now. Now, don't get me wrong. Within KDE, there are a ton of settings. You can customize everything. So, from that aspect, it's maybe not the best desktop for someone new. But on the surface, getting your operating system set up, this would be a good option. So check it out. If you try it and you have a good experience or bad experience or whatever, let me know in the video notes. If you've got any questions, let me know. If there's anything in particular you wanted to see here, let me know in the comments section because I am certainly going to have this running on my main laptop for some time to come. All right, that's it for now, and we will check you later. Thanks for watching.